A man who once slept on cardboard boxes in Manila, who survived by selling donuts and cleaning boxing gyms, would eventually climb to the very top of professional boxing and claim world championships across 8 weight divisions. Manny Pacquiao went from extreme hardship to earning hundreds of millions, becoming a national icon, and even entering politics. But behind the success story, a different reality unfolded. Legal troubles, tax disputes, broken agreements, failed political ambitions, and personal struggles slowly started to undo much of what he had built. It raises a difficult question. How did one of the greatest fighters in Philippine history end up facing battles that could not be solved inside the ring? To understand that journey, you have to understand the kind of poverty he came from. This was not simple financial struggle or missing out on luxuries. It was the kind of environment where survival comes before everything else, even childhood itself. In such conditions, desperation can reach a point where even a family pet is lost just to put food on the table. Emmanuel Dapadran Pacquiao was born in Kibawe, Bukidnon, on the island of Mindanao in the Philippines. He was the fourth of 6 children raised in a household where hardship was constant and overwhelming. At one point, the family's situation became so extreme that even their pet dog was killed for food. Mindanao, where he grew up, is one of the largest islands in the Philippines and also one of its poorest. While cities like Manila showed signs of wealth and opportunity, rural Mindanao lived in a completely different reality. In many parts of the region, poverty was not just about money. It shaped every decision. Families did not think about comfort or improvement. They worried about whether they would eat that day. His parents eventually separated when he was in 6th grade after his father had an affair. After that, his mother was left alone to raise 6 children without any real support system. There was no welfare safety net, no financial assistance, nothing to fall back on. Everything depended purely on survival. To help his family, young Manny began working on the streets, selling bread, collecting scrap materials, and taking any small job he could find just to bring in a few pesos. At the same time, school became impossible to continue. By 6th grade, he made the painful decision to drop out because survival came first. At just 12 years old, he left formal education behind and moved in with his uncle in General Santos City. That is where his path toward boxing truly began. His uncle, who had no formal boxing background, became his first trainer. There were no proper facilities, no professional equipment, no scientific training methods, just a basic setup, worn-out gloves, and raw determination. Despite the limited resources, his talent started to show quickly. By the age of 15, he was already considered one of the most promising young boxers in the country, regularly fighting in local public venues in General Santos, slowly building the foundation of what would become an extraordinary career. In those early days, the fights in General Santos were not organized sporting events in the modern sense. They were raw, unregulated battles held in public parks where spectators placed bets on outcomes and fighters earned whatever small money the crowd decided to give. It was in this rough environment that Pacquiao began to shape the fighting identity he would later become known for. Non-stop pressure, lightning-fast combinations, and an unwillingness to retreat no matter how much punishment he had to take. But even those local fights could not contain his ambition. As a teenager, he made a daring decision to leave everything behind and secretly travel to Manila by stowing away on a ship. There was no support waiting for him, no guaranteed opportunity, just a risky journey driven by belief and desperation. For a 14-year-old boy, Manila represented both hope and danger. The place where dreams either collapsed completely or somehow came true against all odds. When he finally reached the capital, life became even harsher. He slept on cardboard boxes, not as a figure of speech, but literally on the streets. Doorways and sidewalks became his only shelter. To survive, he sold donuts in the mornings, calling out to commuters and office workers for a few pesos at a time. He also cleaned boxing gyms, sweeping floors, and washing equipment just to earn the right to train inside them. Every day was a balance between survival and chasing a future he was not even sure existed. At just 14, he was already working construction jobs, living without stability, and constantly forced to make impossible choices. Eat himself or send money back home to his mother. On many days, he chose to support his family, which meant going hungry himself. That constant sacrifice became part of his early reality and shaped the mindset he carried into boxing. Despite everything, he kept progressing. At only 16 years old, he turned professional and made his debut as a junior flyweight against Edmund Ignacio. It was not a high-paying fight, but for him, it represented something far greater than money. It was survival with direction. Just a few years later, he reached a major breakthrough by capturing the WBC flyweight title after defeating champion Chachai Sasakal. In a short time, he had gone from a homeless teenager sleeping on cardboard to a world champion in the Philippines. The victory felt like a national moment, a story of impossible rise from absolute poverty to global recognition. However, success did not come without setbacks. Early in his career, he experienced a harsh defeat when he was knocked out in the third round of a bout against Rustico Torrecampo. For a young fighter who had no backup plan outside boxing, that loss carried heavy weight. It was not just a defeat on paper. It felt like the collapse of everything he was trying to build. Most fighters would have crumbled after a loss like that. But Pacquiao responded in a way few could have expected. He rebuilt himself with a 15-fight winning streak that restored both his confidence and his standing in the boxing world. During that run, he also captured the WBC flyweight title by defeating champion Chachai Sasakal, proving that his earlier setback had not defined him. That winning streak changed everything. Promoters began to take him seriously, and the Philippine media started calling him a national hero in the making. His reputation was rising fast, but so was the pressure. And then came another devastating setback. Pacquiao defended his title against Medgone Singsarat, a young undefeated fighter with an 18-0 record. Both men were at similar stages in their careers, and the fight was expected to solidify Pacquiao's dominance in the division. Instead, it turned into another shocking reversal. Despite controlling parts of the early action, Pacquiao was once again knocked out in the third round, losing his world title less than a year after winning it. A worrying pattern began to form. He would start fast, overwhelm opponents with speed and volume, but then suddenly everything would shift in the third round. A single clean shot would change the fight completely, sending him to the canvas and erasing everything he had built in that moment. 2 knockout losses before the age of 22 would have ended most careers at the elite level. But Pacquiao was not built like most fighters. Instead of fading, he adapted. He moved up in weight, taking on bigger and stronger opponents, a decision that carried enormous risk. In boxing, even one weight class can change everything. Pacquiao would go on to conquer 8. From that point forward, his career transformed into something historic. He kept winning, collecting titles across multiple divisions and rewriting what was considered possible in the sport. Over a 25-year professional career, he became an 8-division world champion, a lineal champion in 5 different weight classes, and the only fighter in history to win world titles across 4 separate decades. His pay-per-view bouts generated over $1 billion in revenue, a staggering figure considering where he started. From a boy who once had to choose between eating or sending money home, the scale of his transformation was almost unimaginable. Along the way, Pacquiao defeated 22 world champions, including names like Juan Manuel Marquez twice, Oscar de la Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, Antonio Margarito, Timothy Bradley twice, Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, and many others, cementing his place among the greatest fighters the sport has ever seen. Some of the names Pacquiao defeated: Oscar de la Hoya, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, and Shane Mosley, were already established legends when he stepped into the ring with them. And he did not just beat them. In many cases, he outclassed and overwhelmed them in ways few expected. He went on to make history as the first boxer ever to win world titles in 8 different weight divisions, collecting 12 major world championships along the way. His achievements earned him global recognition beyond boxing, including being named in Time magazine's list of the 100 most influential people. But that recognition was not only about his fighting ability. It was about what he symbolized. For millions, Pacquiao represented something bigger than sport. He became living proof that extreme poverty did not have to define a person's future. In the Philippines, his fights were more than entertainment. They were national events. During his biggest bouts, the entire country would come to a standstill. Reports even suggested noticeable drops in crime activity during fight nights. Streets would empty, cities would fall silent, and millions would gather around televisions, completely locked into every punch. For a few hours, everything else in the country seemed to pause. But behind the celebration and global fame, a different story was unfolding. As money and attention increased, Pacquiao's personal life began to spiral. The wealth that came from success hit him all at once, and the lifestyle that followed was overwhelming. He later admitted that fame went to his head. Gambling, drinking, and a fast-moving social life became part of his routine. What had once been a young man struggling to eat was now a global superstar surrounded by excess. The change was not gradual. It was sudden and intense. He openly acknowledged struggles with gambling and lifestyle choices during that period, describing how success changed his habits and mindset. Cockfighting in the Philippines, known as sabong, became one of his major obsessions. He owned thousands of roosters and invested heavily in breeding and competition. At times, he wagered enormous sums, losing large amounts in a single afternoon. It was not just about money. It was about the adrenaline, the same rush he once chased inside the boxing ring. That same pattern extended into casinos. Trips to Macau, Las Vegas, and Manila's gaming halls often ended in massive losses. Friends and associates described nights where he would lose hundreds of thousands of dollars at a time.